Drake withdraws his suit against Spotify and UMG, Universal Music Group. I don't know if this is going to help the situation or how his reputation is going to be affected by this, but we're going to talk about that. We're going to get into details on the Drake thing. And in sad news, it appears that First Lady Michelle Obama, former First Lady Michelle Obama, are they still called First Lady even though they're no longer the first? Like, you know how the president, it's still President Bush, it's still President Obama. Is the First Lady still called First Lady or is it former First Lady? I don't know. Someone tell me in the comments. Anyway, former First Lady Michelle Obama will not be attending the Trump inauguration on Monday, January 20th. She's not going. I don't really think anyone cares, but we are going to get into it on the Time to Talk podcast. And also, Diddy apparently scores a win for himself with the revelation of 9 tapes, freak-off tapes. We got some tapes, people. When we don't have the tapes. I'm not showing you the tapes. I haven't seen the tapes. We could speculate what's on the tapes. And apparently Diddy is saying that this is evidence that he's not doing anything wrong with people and that he's not trafficking and all the stuff he's accused of. The evidence that's been presented recently is going to sort of exonerate him. We shall see. I don't think so, but we'll see. Let's get into that and a little bit more. Time to Talk podcast. Welcome to the Time to Talk podcast. Before we start, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. I truly appreciate that. Let's get this thing rolling. Let's build up the audience. For everyone who's already supporting me and who have already subscribed, I truly appreciate you. When you leave your comments and your likes and stuff, I truly appreciate it. We got to keep going, keep the machine going. So I thank you for that. Let's get right to it. I want to start with the Drake situation, right? So Drake, if you don't know, obviously, I mean, who doesn't know, right? The whole feud with Kendrick Lamar that brewed a few months ago, I guess before the end of the year, right? Got into the beef with Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar basically put a can of ass whooping on him. And then Drake decided to go cry baby to the authorities and say, oh, no. I lost that battle because you guys were faking the stream numbers and promoting him more than me. A bunch of hogwash, a bunch of nonsense, a bunch of crybaby stuff that you simply don't do. Well, at least not in my town, not from New York, not from Brooklyn. You don't do that. But I guess maybe Toronto, Canada, that's the way y'all act. I don't know. No insult to Toronto Canadians, but that's what he did, and it didn't look good. So bottom line is Drake has withdrawn the petition he raised accusing Spotify and UMG, Universal Music Group, of illegally boosting Kendrick Lamar's diss track, Not Like Us. According to documents filed with the New York State Supreme Court on Tuesday, the pre-action case is being discontinued with no financial cost to any of the parties involved. So that means, contrary to what I heard in other places or people who are speculating about this, that there were paydays involved, that somebody got paid. Drake either got paid under the table or somehow it was like there was a settlement amount. I don't think that's the case. I think that this just got dropped. And again, it wasn't a full-on lawsuit. All right, this is a pre-lawsuit kind of thing. It's a pre-action case, which is used to establish the grounds for continuing with the actual lawsuit. So I guess it came down to Drake and his team of lawyers finding out what UMG was doing, what Spotify was doing, and looking at records or something, or I guess some sort of information and detail on those records and the streaming data and whatever they were looking at. They were looking for cause to say, okay, we are going to go forward with a full-on lawsuit. But apparently that is not the case. However, there is still a case. So more information about that. The petition or pre-action case isn't a full lawsuit. This is what I was just saying. It refers to a stage of litigation that seeks information from each party and allows time for issues to be resolved before disputes are escalated to court. Now, the legal petition filed by Drake, real name Aubrey Graham, in November alleged that Spotify and UMG, the parent label that represents both him and Lamar, use bots, discounted licensing rates, and pay-to-play agreements to artificially inflate the streaming numbers for Lamar's song. The diss track aimed at Drake became a viral hit following a feud between the two artists last year that attracted significant attention. Yes, it became a hit. I'm actually sick of it now. I'm kind of sick of Not Like Us now. They run it over and over again. I don't listen to the radio too often. I'm usually listening to my own playlist or Spotify and Tidal, like my own album and stuff. But every time I do have the radio on or something that song is playing. Anyway, so going into the second legal petition, the second legal petition was also filed by Drake in November that accused UMG of funneling payments to iHeartRadio to promote Lamar's diss track. Drake's lawyer said the song, which describes Drake as a certified pedophile, a predator, and someone who should be registered and placed on neighborhood watch, was defamatory, claiming that the damage to Drake's reputation should have prevented UMG from releasing it. While the initial pre-action case against Spotify and UMG is now resolved, the second petition against UMG and iHeartRadio is still active. So, like I said, they that whole thing is dead. I guess it's over with, and I don't think, this is. I think it makes them look even worse, right? Because I think there was a certain amount of people saying things that Drake bringing this suit sort of represented like an action against these large companies and looking out for the interests of other artists, right? He's kind of like, he was like the man who's going to take that, put on that cape and be the person to represent for the artists who are getting ripped off by these big companies. I don't think that's the case clearly. And the fact that this is dead and gone, it just looks like, to me, from my perspective, my opinion, let me know in the comments what you think, but it seems to me that here's a guy who was a sore loser who looked for a way to figure out how to prove that he wasn't a loser, even though he was in the public's eye, which is really what counts. It's the audience that counts. It's your fans and supporters that count, right? He looked for a way to somehow get out of this or lessen the impact of him being such a loser. And that made him look like more of a loser when he did that. When he goes crying to the authorities after losing a rap battle, he just looked like a real biatch of a man. And now that it appears that he doesn't have any means to go forward, or at least this pre-action case seemed to have just been stopped in its tracks and they agreed to let the whole thing go, it just looks that much worse. It's like, you went, you lost, you got your ass kicked, then you went, you cried to the authorities, and then that whole thing got dropped, and now you're back to square one. So you're pretty much a loser. I don't know how his reputation recovers after this one. Again, as I've said previously, when I have discussed Drake, I do not think, I think he's a talented individual who deserves his love and deserves his fan base and deserves the earnings he's made. Like, I don't hate on the man. I just can't see doing that. He's a talented brother who's made a mark in a particular genre of music. Whether or not that mark, that legacy is going to last in a particular fashion and how it's going to be cemented, I really don't know. And what's to come from him, I really don't know. But I've also stated that I find him to be incredibly boring, and he makes music for 13-year-old girls. And that's just, I don't think from a real hip hop perspective, he's in that category. That's just me. He's done some good stuff, don't get me wrong. But this particular situation, this incident, this going against Kendrick Lamar and losing big time, going against UMG and Spotify and technically losing big time because he got nothing out of it, it's not going forward. I just think it further puts the nail in the coffin of his reputation. I don't think his career is over. We shall see what happens. Now let's move on to the wonderful former First Lady, Michelle Obama. So Michelle Obama has decided that she's not going to the Trump inauguration. Oh, well, aren't we all just going to miss her? Aren't we just going to miss that smiling face and all that beauty that Michelle Obama brings to everything? Let's keep it real. Let's keep it real. I'm being sarcastic there with saying the smiling face. This woman is a stereotype of an angry woman. I don't even want to say the full sentence because it'll just get me in trouble. But she's just a stereotype of the angry woman. I don't understand why. I think that's what's so perplexing about it, is the fact that I don't understand what she's angry about. Like, this woman, her husband was a successful two-term president, probably the most successful two-term president and most successful Democratic president in God knows how long, right? The man is a star, and he's the head of the Democratic Party. She was a successful first lady. I give her props. Okay, they have a beautiful family. They are living life. They are rich. They make tons of money off of all sorts of things, including their criminal enterprises and all the things they do with all their billionaire tech friends and what they were doing during the when they were supporting Kamala Harris and all the lies and the nonsense and the fact her husband's a war criminal. Like, yeah, there's all that stuff behind the scenes. But what is she miserable about? She didn't go to the first inauguration for Trump in, 2017. She was there, but she was miserable for that. right? It's like if you look at her constantly, she's miserable and upset. Like you don't see a smiling, glowing, wonderful woman who's biting the bullet and just kind of holding on to her pride and being, she's toughing it out. She's not doing that. She decided not to go to the Carter funeral, which again was nonsense and disrespect. Carter is a beloved figure. Say what you want about Carter in terms of his history, his record as an actual president, which is a topic for another discussion, but he still was a beloved former president who lived to 100 years old. And you should have showed up. Everyone else showed up. Why would you not show up? Because you're too good. What happened to when they go low, we go high? I have used that mocking voice several times on this channel, previously when discussing Kamala Harris and that whole thing and the way the Democrats handle everything, right? And how low they were in calling Trump a dictator and Hitler and all these other things. I was like, what happened to when they go low, we go high? Well, if when they go low, you go high, then that means your character in general is the type of person. Your character would demand that, hey, look, it's a funeral. I should be there. Doesn't matter who's going to be there. Doesn't matter if I want to be there. Doesn't mean if I'm going to be happy to be there. Put on a dress, put on a smile, and show up. That's what you do. You're in politics. Your husband is Barack Obama. You show up by his side. You do what you got to do. Same thing with the inauguration. You hate Trump. You hate the Trump supporters. You hate the whole MAGA movement. You hate Republicans. You hate everybody around him. You can't stand it. You feel the country is going to go down the tubes. You feel like a dictator is about to take over. You're still resentful over January 6th because you believe it was a coup, whatever it was. Like, if that's what you think, still, you show up, you put on a smile, you stand there with dignity and respect, and you prove to all the little girls, all the young ladies, all the black women around the world that you are trying to impress. You show them that you know how to put on a happy face. You know how to do that. You can put a smile on. You can show up to something with dignity and respect and just honor the institution that is the United States and that transition of power and the inauguration, and just show up with your husband. You do not need to sit this one out because I can't stand Trump. That's not sending a good message, Michelle. It simply is not. I'm going to get a lot of flack from my sisters who are going to just naturally out of nowhere support her for whatever reason, just like they did Kamala. And I'm ready for that. Go ahead and let me know in the comments. Unload on me. I just personally feel it's not an attack on necessarily Michelle Obama. It's an attack on that type of character, a person that would claim to be this whole, higher than high, self-righteous, when they go low, we go high person. And you haven't shown that you can go high. You haven't shown that. So forgive me if I'm being a little brash when it comes to Michelle Obama, but I just think, let's call it what it is. And it's a level of disrespect. And I don't think it's necessary coming from a former first lady. That's all I'm going to say about that. So she doesn't show up. She doesn't show up. Frankly, I just don't think anybody cares. Let's move on to Diddy. Diddy, this is the good stuff, right? Diddy. We've been waiting for Diddy news. We're trying to figure out what's happening with Diddy. It was like a little lull in the Diddy trending news cycle for a second. Let's get into Diddy. So Diddy, apparently there were, I believe 9 freak-off tapes that were revealed or somehow. Now, I don't know where these tapes are coming from, where these video, I can say tapes, but where these videos are coming from. But let's talk about this for a second. Sean Diddy Combs insists feds want to police non-conforming sexual activity, and freak-off videos reveal his innocence in sex trafficking case. Facing a trial later this year for sex trafficking and other damning charges, the much-accused Sean Diddy Combs took a big swing at prosecutors' insistence that his so-called freak-offs were depraved and non-consensual debaucheries. According to Combs' ambitious lawyers, in the latest variation on their attack of the accuser tactics, their client committed no crimes in his long-term relationship with victim number 1. I believe that's Cassie. And the feds are prudes who want to control what goes on in people's bedrooms. I won't argue with him about that. Quote unquote, far from the government's lurid descriptions, the video shows adults having consensual sex, plain and simple, end quote. Exclaims a letter from the incarcerated Bad Boy Record Founders defense team sent Tuesday morning to Judge Aaron Subramanian. Quote, at bottom, this case is about whether victim 1 was or was not a willing participant in her private sex life with Mr. Combs. The videos confirm that she plainly was. Quote, there is no evidence of any violence, coercion, threats, or manipulation whatsoever. The somewhat redacted correspondence adds of the self-described quite dark and grainy sex tapes as it seeks to have a protective order modified in regard to the videos. There is no evidence that anyone is incapacitated or under the influence of drugs or excessive alcohol consumption. There is certainly no evidence of sex trafficking. believe this has to do with Cassie Ventura. Yeah, one of the primary witnesses and sources for the U.S. Attorney's Office, victim one, has long been identified as Combs' former girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. Despite a big bucks payoff to legal action of Ventura's own in November last year over the 2007-2018 relationship the duo had, the defense has tried repeatedly to characterize her as an active and willing participant in Combs' escapades. So, what are they saying? What's going on here? Essentially, he's saying, look, check out these tapes. Check out these videos. Does it look like she's like he's making the case that if you watch this video, this female or whatever other females are involved in this are having a ball, like they're smiling at the camera. Like it doesn't look like some drugged out or drunken woman who's just a body involved in a situation, a sexual situation where someone's taking advantage of her. It's not some creepy video of that sort. It's more of, hey, let's do some video. Okay, let's do it, and having fun. And he's playing on that fact. He's saying, I've got plenty of videos with plenty of freaks where we're doing all sorts of stuff, but they know they're doing it. They're smiling at the camera. They're waiting for their close-up. They're having a ball. You can tell from the reactions and the interactions with the people they're having, that they're actually engaged with, that this is just consensual adult fun. And from the prosecutor's standpoint or the government standpoint, there's nothing illegal. And mind you, I said this long ago, there's nothing illegal about grown adults getting together, whether it's two adults in private or wherever it is, on an island somewhere or on a boat, a yacht, whatever, or if it's 10, 15, 20, 30 couples getting together. I think they call them swingers, right? And they have orgies and get-togethers, groups. Like, that's not illegal. It's not. And it seems that Combs is simply pointing out, based on these tapes, that, look, we're not doing anything that many people wish they were doing or already doing. Having sex and we're videotaping it. Everyone involved is consensual, and you can tell from looking at the tape. I'd like to see the tapes. But this is his play. Is it a small win for him? Possibly. At this point, still, the question remains, where are all the other videos? All of this evidence that was supposedly gathered up during those raids, possibly, or through whatever other means, whoever has them, whoever's slowly going to leak them, whatever's going to happen, we're going to eventually need to see, not us actually see the videos, but there's going to need to be put into evidence as far as a court goes, as far as that actual case. We're going to need to see videos and evidence that show which celebrities. There's always accusations with celebrity names, right? How many people were involved there? Is there illegal activity going on? Because again, you can have Denzel, Oprah, Brad Pitt, whoever you want at a Diddy freak off party. If they're not doing anything and they're just either butt naked or they're having consensual sex with other consensual like adults, there's nothing illegal about that. What's going to have to happen is there needs to be evidence of, hey, there's minors, and how do you prove that? By the physical looks, I don't know. Witness testimony. There's gonna need to be some much more hardcore evidence of this freak off activity that's illegal. That's what we're gonna need to see. I think this is I wouldn't even call it a win per se. I wouldn't say it's a win outright. I would say that it simply speaks to the idea that I have a particular lifestyle. I've done some things, but this shows that I'm just having consensual sex on camera. That's not a crime. So he's trying to justify or write off everything else. We'll have to see what happens and see where this goes. Again, the Diddy stuff, there was a slight break in that news, and now there's this. We'll see what happens. When is the trial? A couple of months from now? Where are we? In January? We got May. So we'll see what happens when this trial starts. Anyway, Time to Talk Podcast. That's it for me. Again, if you've not subscribed to the channel, truly appreciate you subscribing, and hit that like button on the way out. That makes a really big deal. I cannot stress that enough. Hit the like button, especially when we're growing, right? Your support means a lot to me. It truly keeps everything going here, and all the magic behind the scenes and the masters that handle all that stuff. And whether this video gets seen, it's based on you guys. So I really appreciate you being here. The people who have already subscribed, thank you. Again, I cannot thank you enough. Stick with me. Time to Talk Podcast. Let me know in the comments what you think about the Drake situation. Let me know in the comments what you think about Michelle skipping the inauguration. And let me know in the comments what you think about Diddy and this recent news. And I will see you on the next Time to Talk Podcast. Be good.